Representative Hicks moves House File 1661 to bring that before the committee, and I believe that there is an amendment to that bill. And so, Representative Hicks, do you wish to move the A1 amendment?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay, and looks like some technical changes there. Are there any questions folks have to the A1 amendment? So hearing none, all in favor of approval of the A1 amendment, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. So the motion passes and the amendment is adopted. So Representative Hicks to House File 1661 as amended.
Thank you so much, Chair and members. I want to first thank Lee Daniels for co-authoring this legislation with me. As many of you know, we are a foster family and a kinship foster family, and this is a issue area that's very close and near and dear to my heart. House File 1661 reflects the priorities developed by the Kinship Working Group with participation from advocates, community-based providers, and counties, and DHS. This legislation is needed due to positive and significant shifts within our current welfare system. Over 60% of children in foster care are currently being placed with kinship caregivers and relative caregivers. This is great for children, and these children are being raised by families outside of the foster care system, in many cases informally. Grand family statistics state that in every one child raised by kin in foster care, there are 6 being raised by kin outside of foster care in Minnesota. House File 1661 responds to the needs of our informal kinship caregivers who are actively preventing children from entering the child welfare system, and to the needs of our formal kinship caregivers who are increasingly the primary foster parents to Minnesota children in care. I'll walk through the sections of the bill real quickly. Sections 1 and 2 outline a grant program to build service capacity to assist informal kinship caregivers. According to the National Expert Grand Families, 79,096 Minnesotan children are being raised informally by a relative. Kinship caregivers need financial, legal, medical, and kinship resources. A long-standing local model provided by Lutheran Social Services in Minnesota uses groups and workshops, online learning opportunities, and a warm line to support these families. The statewide need for kinship caregivers far exceeds the current resources, especially in greater Minnesota. Expansion of informal kinship supports helps keep families together while preventing child welfare involvement and setting them up for success. Section 3 of the bill invests in an establishment grant program to support formal kinship foster caregivers statewide. Amended language includes an evaluation of the impact of these investments by asking what brings the greatest value to caregivers. National statistics indicate that children who are cared for by their family experience greater stability. And as observed by those serving kinship families, supporting kinship often requires twice the amount of staff and resources as a traditional foster home. Kinship caregivers are asked to transform their lives, to care for children whom they love deeply. Oftentimes, overnight, they need beds, clothing, childcare, transportation, and lots of practical and caring supports to begin parenting the children they love and their families. House File 1661 makes these needed investments that can help support kinship caregivers. I will let my testifiers share their stories now.
Thank you so much. And again, my apologies in advance. We'll have to just keep you to 2 minutes apiece. But I think Nomi Bad Boy is the first person. And so please, perhaps either way, whoever wants to go. First person, identify yourself, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Chair Pinto and members of the committee. My name is Nomi Bad Boy. I serve as a member of the Kinship Advisory Council. I'm also in my second year with the Transgender Equity Council in Minneapolis. I live in Ward 7 in Minneapolis, and I serve as a board member for the Twin Cities Pride. 4 years ago, I unexpectedly became a kinship caregiver to my 2 nieces and nephew. I was able to obtain custody of the 2 older children, and I also adopted my youngest niece. I had to put my full-time career on hold to become a kinship caregiver. Our family had to move 3 times. We are without food by the end of the month. There are many needs, including after-school activities, school supplies, hygiene, and clothing. My 3-year-old niece wants to do ballet, but we do not have the funds to do so. I came to understand quickly that there just isn't enough funding or resources for children. I want to give them the best and most positive life possible. As a member of the Kinship Advisory Council, we are working to help families like mine. We bring our voices and experiences to make sure the supports, services, and resources provided are what caregivers and children need. The big issue are financial resources for our families, housing instability, child care costs, and lack of knowledge of community services. My niece and nephew are now emotionally stable. My niece is happy, bubbly, and full of energy, and she enjoys her preschool education program. My nephew is a teenager now, and he loves to play his PlayStation 4 and plays basketball with his friends. He also enjoys sleepovers. We are a strong family. I hope you will support increased funding to support kinship caregivers and families like mine. Thank you.
Thanks so much, and thanks for your work as a kinship caregiver.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And Linda Buchner, please identify yourself and proceed.
Hi, my name is Linda Buchner. I'm a caregiver for 3 of my grandchildren. They were placed with me 6 years ago. My adoption went through a year ago through Ampersand. I got recommended to Ampersand program. It was the wonderful program that I got introduced to. They helped me with my licensing, helped me with everything with my grandsons. We're here today to get our voices out because it's so important that the fundings and stuff that we receive to protect these children and take care of these children, that we need this stuff. Like I said, I have 3 boys the age of 11, 9, and 8. And they keep me very busy, sports-wise, school-wise, just everything that, that we have to provide and do for them. I had to change my life around. For these 3 little boys, it was either change my life around or let them go into the system. I refused that because they are my biological grandchildren, and I knew I needed to step up to be there for them because they didn't have no one else to do that. They have me and their grandfather in their lives. They're happy. They are smart, educated 3 little boys. We are trying to raise them the best way that we can. I try to keep them active, involved in sports and everything. It's just so important that you guys listen to our bill today to really help support our children out here. Get our words out to protect our children. That's the most important thing. Thank you.
It sure is. Thank you, and thanks for your testimony, and thanks to you for your work as a kinship caregiver, too. Really, thanks to both of you. Any members of the public who wish to testify regarding this bill? I'm not seeing any, and so I think we're ready to move to member questions or discussion. So, members, any that folks have? Representative Keeler.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Representative Hicks, for bringing this forward. I guess for me, it's more of an educational opportunity for us to talk about why ICWA and MIFBA is the gold standard when we do placement, because the #1 piece of ICWA is that you're placed with your family first. Because we know and we understand that our families know us. They look like us. They understand our history. They can share that with us, and that's extremely important. And so thank you for this, but also keeping in mind that we are moving forward with MIFBA being the gold standard here so that all children can really have this opportunity. So continue with the great work. Thank you.
Good stuff. Thank you, Vice Chair Keeler. And so I think there's a good sense here regarding the work that you're doing, Representative Hicks, in this terrific proposal. So I'll go to Lee Daniels for the final word as usual.
Thank you, Chair Pinto. Yeah, I do support this bill. Being a second-generation foster parent and my daughter being a third generation, sometimes the goal is always to reunite with a family. And sometimes that's difficult to do, and sometimes that's by law. You only have, so many hours to reunite the children with somebody in the family. So I like the premises of this bill, and I think it'll give a little variety to finding good homes for children. And the main intent is always reunite the family. So, and I think that's still in the bill's intent. So I'm in favor of it. Like to support it, and we'll see what happens down the road, I guess.
Yeah, thank you, Lee Daniels. Actually, I'm just noticing that you are a co-author on the bill. So, in fact, have lent your name and support,
Yeah.
which is terrific.
Thank you, Representative Hicks, for authoring the bill as well.
Good stuff. Representative Hicks, final word for you as the bill author.
Thank you so much, Chair and committee members. As a kinship caregiver, I know how alone it can feel when you're not formally in the system and navigating it by yourself. And I've been in the system as a formal foster parent as well. So I understand the difference of support that happens in those situations and in those environments. And I want to make sure that other families like mine and like yours get the support they need to ensure that our children are cared for, loved, safe, and can remain in family and in community.
Thank you, Representative Hicks, and again to your testifiers for their work. I'll note, Representative Hicks, as long as I'm sort of thinking about this, I noticed there's a blank appropriation in the bill, and one thing I'll ask you to think about as the committee is considering putting together a budget is sort of, I'm sure sort of the more funding that could go into this, the better. Are there sort of thresholds where, really a minimum of X would make a difference? Are there sort of milestones where, this, just to sort of think about the amount of money that that you might be seeking for this? That's something that we can talk about at a later time, potentially. If you have, real quick, if you want to say something, if Nomi Badboy. Sorry, the amendment has that. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
How embarrassing is that? I am so sorry, all.
The amendment has that information.
Well, maybe, okay, let me amend my own question, and I'm so sorry about that, all. To ask that if it turns out that it can't be these particular amounts, I'm also thinking about that, and I guess I'll ask that of all folks bringing the dollar amounts before us, and I'm so sorry, members, for that. Representative Hicks, terrific bill. Again, thank you to your testifiers, and with that, the chair does lay over House File 1661 as amended, because it had an amendment, for possible inclusion in a future bill.